Hello, friends. I know that this week has been a heavy one with the passing of President Nelson, the tragedy in Michigan, and that on top of everything else that causes anxiety and worry in a week. I've talked with a lot of you. Thank you so much for all you have done to help your students feel peace, feel calm, and even feel a little bit of confidence and hope, especially as we look at a much needed general conference this upcoming weekend. Now, I've talked with a lot of you about how you've prepared students for General Conference, which is wonderful. I also think what we do after General Conference matters maybe as much, if not even more. How can we help the words of prophets and apostles be a regular part, an ongoing part of our gospel study and our youth seminary experience so that General Conference isn't just a holiday weekend? Well, one way you might do that is this. I love studying Exodus chapter 17 with students after General Conference. This is the story of the Israelites fighting the Amalekites. And if you remember the story, Moses tells Joshua, I'm going to go up on the hill and I'm going to hold the rod of God over my head. And the text says that when Moses held up his hand, the Israelites prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. So I'll call a student up and have them model this. You stand up here, and if I don't have a rod, I'll give them in their hands scriptures to hold. Just put your hands like this, and I want you to hold up this set of scriptures and that stack of hymn books. And I just want you to hold it up. And as long as your hands stay up, Israel prevails. We can even have a discussion about what this means for a prophet to hold up the word of God, what it means for us as Israel to prevail. Now, as they do this, of course, their arms are going to get tired. And as their arms go down, Amalek prevails. And so Moses calls up Aaron and Hur in verse 12, one on one side and one on the other, to stay up his hand. So I'll call up two students to model this as well. And I'll have them just hold up, if you can, grab Moses's elbow here and just hold that hand up. You can't hold the rod for him, but you can hold up his hand. You can give him support. You can sustain him. And so they'll do that. And then what I'll do, as a student is right here holding up Moses's elbow, I'll say, all right, you leave your hand here. Moses, you step back a bit. And then I'll ask them, have you ever seen this? Maybe even recently. We do this every Sunday, almost every Sunday in church when we sustain someone to a new calling. We do this in General Conference to sustain our leaders. With this story in mind, what does it mean to sustain? It has to be more than just a vote or even an agreement that this is going to be a good leader. What does it mean to stay up the hands of the prophet, to sustain him? Especially whether this weekend in General Conference or shortly thereafter, we'll have the chance to sustain a new apostle and to sustain a new first presidency. What does it mean to sustain them? And how can we continue to sustain them this week in seminary? What can we do to bring the words of prophets and apostles into our regular seminary experience? That discussion always yields fruit for me and my students, and sometimes they have really great ideas for how we can bring General Conference into class. So if that works for you, great. If not, and you find a different way to help students to pull from the most recent messages from prophets and apostles, do whatever it takes. Find ways to bring those into your lessons, whether you substitute quotes into the suggested quotes from the curriculum, whether you invite students to recall things they learned or felt from General Conference. Do something this upcoming week and months to help students continue to sustain prophetic leaders and prophetic direction. Now, I, like you, mourn the loss of President Nelson. It felt like for me, every General Conference I came to, President Nelson had something that was uniquely prophetic for me. He spoke to my life. And because of that and many other experiences, I know that he was a prophet of God. I know that only God can know that clearly what's in my heart and be able to inspire someone to teach so clearly the exact thing I needed. I also look forward to sustaining President Oaks and to sustaining our other general leaders. I love them. I'm excited for what they will teach us, and I look forward to the impact that their teachings and example will continue to have on the youth that are in our seminary classes. Thank you for everything that you do. Have a wonderful General Conference weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.